There's a sports betting strategy that turns 1,000 into 10,000 with an 83% win rate, and almost nobody's using it. It's not long shots, and it's not gut feelings. It's one of the most overlooked approaches in all of sports betting. And my tracker shows it's the best way to make consistent money. I'm going to show you the exact system step by step with real numbers. By the end of this video, you'll know how to run this strategy yourself in about 15 minutes. So let's get into it. Most sports bettors look at minus 300 odds and immediately walk away. They see risk 300 to 100 and think it's the worst deal on the board. They go chase plus 200 underdogs and parlays instead because why? The payout feels better. Here's what they're missing. Underdog and parlay bettors lose long term. The math is brutal. A parlay bettor needs roughly 65% on every leg just to break even, and most hit closer to 30%. The plus 200 underdog bettor needs to win 34% of the time just to not lose money, and most hit closer to about 25%. There's a much smarter way to bet on sports. The market is heavy favorites, specifically plays where the true probability of winning exceeds the implied probability that the sports books are giving you. These bets feel boring to place because the payouts are small, but the win rate is dramatically higher. And when you combine a high win rate with proper bet sizing and compounding, the results are massive. Here's the math that changes everything. At minus 300 odds, for example, you risk $300 to win $100. The implied probability the sportsbook is pricing it at is about 75%. But when you filter for plays where the true probability is, let's say 83%, you have an 8% edge on every single bet. Run that edge over hundreds of bets with disciplined bet sizing, and your bankroll compounds like a retirement account. The system that I'm about to show you identifies these specific plays where the math is overwhelmingly in your favor. Here are the 4 criteria that I use to find those heavy favorites with a verified edge, with every step narrowing the field down. By the time all 4 line up, you got a bet that hits at 83% of the time based on my track data. Let's go ahead and start with step 1. Now this is your fundamental filter. Your odds need to be filtered down from minus 250 to minus 750. Anything that's cheaper than minus 250 doesn't have enough margin for safety. Anything more than 750, it's really tough to make the math work without a lot of volume at the higher echelon of minus 800, minus 900, minus 1000. Now lines below minus 250 get sharp action quickly. Lines that are above minus 750 don't have enough volume for the books to refine. This range right here is where you're going to find the inefficiencies. Now you could find this range on any sportsbook in seconds. All you have to do is go to the sportsbook that you use and filter the odds by the highest odds up top. Now that we got our threshold down for our fundamental level, let's get to step 2. Now, if we move on to step 2 here, what you want to look at is you want to make sure that the favorite has a verified edge. Once you've identified a heavy favorite, you need to verify that the true probability of them winning is higher than the implied probability. So let's say, for example, minus 300 play. Implied probability for that is going to be 75%. Well, we need to make sure that the play that we're looking at has a true probability higher than 75% to be able to verify yourself as having an edge. This is where most bettors fail. They see a heavy favorite and assume the favorite is going to win because they're the favorite. That's not an edge. That's just betting chalk. Real edge comes from situations where the data shows the favorite should be priced even more expensive than they are. Now, some examples include an MLB ace pitcher facing a bottom 5 offense in a pitcher-friendly park, or an NBA team with full health versus an opponent that's missing 2 key starters, or a tennis top 10 player on their best surface going against a journeyman that's ranked outside the top 80, or even in soccer, having a soccer team with a 95% win rate at home versus a team that struggles on the road. Now the question is, where do you find this verified edge? Like, how could you come up with it in seconds? Well, I've made it completely easy because now I have the Linemaker AI. They can literally find these plays for you in literally seconds. So it takes no time whatsoever. All you guys got to do is click the link in the description to get that AI so that way you can start using it today. Now this is simple as well. If you can't find a true probability for a player prop that is above 75%, then you just take a pass on the day, okay? Not every day you're going to find one, okay? Maybe there's a day where there's not much going on and you don't find a play that's above 75% true probability. That's okay. All you got to do is take a break on that day. You don't always have to get something down or press just to get a play down. But that's the point of this filter right here. Because if you don't have a verified edge, then you shouldn't be placing that bet anyway. Let's go ahead and get to step 3 now. Step 3, we want to make sure there's no game state risks, meaning injury, weather, or rotation risks. Now, step 3 is where you eliminate the bets that look great on paper but have hidden risks. Injuries that aren't yet priced into the line, weather that can affect the outcome of the game, rotation situations where the favorite's stars might, rest. The simple test for that is just pull up the injury report and the weather forecast. If anything is questionable, then you just skip the bet. For example, the math doesn't work in baseball, let's say for a pitcher, when the wind is blowing out at 25 miles an hour and turning fly balls into home runs. But if everything is clean, then you pass step 3, and then we move on to the last step. Now let's go ahead and get to step 4 here. Step 4 is your bet size. Your bet size needs to be exactly 3% of your bankroll. Now this is the step that separates winners from losers. The exact same bet at the exact same odds with the exact same true probability will produce dramatically different results based on betting size alone. 3% is the magic number for this strategy. It's small enough to absorb losing streaks, and you will have them, because everybody does, without crippling your bankroll. It's large enough to compound meaningfully when you actually win. Anything smaller than 3%, and you're not extracting enough value. Anything larger than 3%, and a normal losing streak can wipe you out. So I'm going to write an example here. On a $1,000 bankroll, that would be $30 per bet. On a $5,000 bankroll, that would be $150. And on a $10,000 bankroll, that would be $300. Every win, every loss, you recalculate your unit based on your current bankroll. That's the bet. Now let me walk you through the actual math as you can exactly see how this is going to compound. Let's go ahead and start with a $1,000 bankroll. Now you're betting $30 per unit size and you win 83% of the time. Well, let's see how that looks. Now we're going to use that the average odds example here are going to be minus 300. All right. Let's say 83 wins at $10 profit per win. That's going to get you $830. Now let's go to 17 losses here. That's going to cost you $510. So you ended up profiting $320. So just like that, that small little math right there shows you right there how long-term betting an example of average odds minus 300, how you can make this actually work and be profitable. Now I want to show this progression over hundreds of bets. Okay, so we're going to start out with 100 bets. At 100 bets, your new bankroll is 1,320. After 200 bets, we move to 1,742 now. After 300, we move to 2,299. 400, we move to 3,034. 500, now we're a little bit over $4,000. 600 bets, now we're at 52.86. After 700 bets, we're at almost $7,000 now. So if we keep moving right along here, say we get to 800 bets now, we're at $9,210. And then at 900 bets, after 900 bets, you're going to exceed $10,000. Now take a look at this. This was all because you played average odds of minus 300 but found true probability of at least 83% and played those heavy favorites. You turned $1,000 into $10,000 after 900 bets. Now this example that I showed you right here is an example of using about 2 to 3 bets per day. And it takes probably about 10 to 15 months at that rate, which you could accelerate that by the more plays that you're getting down, the more plays that you're finding. The key insight is the curve starts slow. The first 200 bets feel like nothing is happening. You're grinding $10 wins and $30 losses. But around bet 400, the curve starts bending upward. By bet 700, it's accelerating. And that's compounding. It's invisible at first, but it's undeniable later. Now let me make sure you understand exactly why this strategy works when most strategies fail. Traditional sports betting strategies focus on finding underdogs that win. The thinking is, if I find a plus 200 underdog that wins 40% of the time, then I have an edge. That math actually works on paper, but in practice it's almost impossible to maintain. Plus 200 underdogs who actually have positive edge are extremely rare because sportsbooks set those lines aggressively and sharp money corrects them quickly. Heavy favorite betting is different. Sportsbooks know the favorite will probably win, depending on what type of bet it is. They price the favorite, let's say at minus 300. Well, the casual bettor obviously looks at that minus 300 and thinks, I'm not risking 300 to win $100. That's terrible. So the casual money goes elsewhere. The line doesn't get refined as aggressively because the volume just isn't there. That creates inefficiency. That's where your edge lives. This is why the strategy works. You're not outsmarting the sportsbook on their best market. You're finding markets that they don't care about because the volume just isn't there. And this isn't sports specific. You could run this strategy across MLB, NBA, NHL, NFL, soccer, tennis, golf, NASCAR. You could run this across multiple sports. There's always a heavy favorite play that's somewhere that has a verified edge. Now, a question that I get all the time is how long does this take per day to be able to do, to search per game to find a verified edge and find those player props that have that type of edge? Well, it used to take about 10 to 15 minutes per game when you would sit there and have to go through and analyze each and every game with the player props there to find a verified edge. But I have solved that problem for you guys. I've created the Linemaker AI, which in seconds can find any play in any game that has a verified edge. So that way you don't have to waste your time sitting there trying to research all day long. If you guys want access to that, make sure you guys click the link in the description. As always, I'm Frank with Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'm out.